You take his collar off, he beats us all to death.
My body!
Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Unleashed. This film tells the story of an orphan cared for by the mafia and turns him into a fighter. Treated like a dog for years, he finally managed to find his true self. Can he get out of the trap of the cold-blooded mafia? Let's find out in Unleashed. Unleashed begins by showing a man named Danny who wears a metal collar around his neck. When the metal collar is released, Danny will turn into a savage fighter who will not stop before killing his opponents. Not only fighting, Danny also has a good defense. Even he was able to dodge a bullet that was fired straight at him at close range. After beating the shooter, an old man in a white coat named Bart enters the room and then approaches the shooter to collect a debt. Bart is a ruthless loan shark who often resorts to violence when collecting debts involving Danny. Danny is a skilled fighter who will stop at nothing to bring down his opponents when the metal collar around his neck is removed by Bart. When Bart was done with his business, he put the metal collar around Danny's neck again. Once the metal collar was attached, Danny turned into a harmless person, very quiet, with little knowledge of living as a social human being. Bart had always treated Danny like a stray dog. Bart even puts Danny in a metal cage under Bart's office. Bart always took Danny when he wanted to collect debts. Sometimes, if the people who owed him refused to pay, Bart would take off the metal collar around Danny's neck, and Danny would attack the people like a wild dog. Danny would not stop until the men lay helpless, and he would always obey Bart's every command. One day, Bart was about to collect a debt from a rich man named Raffles. The man apparently already knows Bart's way to release his savage dog and attack everyone. Therefore, when the two did not reach an agreement, Raffles immediately ordered all his men to attack Bart so he could not release the metal collar around Danny's neck. Sure enough, Danny didn't show any reaction when the metal collar was still around his neck, even though Bart was being beaten badly at the time. Bart was apparently still able to match Raffles' men, so he finally released the metal collar around Danny's neck. When the metal necklace came off, Danny immediately went mad and attacked Raffles and his men. Danny's violent action against Raffles and his men was known by a mysterious man named Wyeth who was at Raffles' place at that time. Wyeth seemed impressed with Danny's way of fighting. On the other hand, because Raffles refused to pay his debt to Bart, Bart took all the jewelry in Raffles' place and then left there. After that, he takes Danny to one more place to collect debts. But this time, he wanted to try negotiating first and had Danny wait in the warehouse. Bart, carrying a lamp, then told Danny to immediately go after him if the light was on. One of Bart's men hung up the lamp, and Bart told Danny to stand watching the lamp just in case. After Bart and his men left, Danny looked around and seemed intrigued by an old piano that was in the antique warehouse. Not long after, an old man came to the warehouse to play the piano. Even though he was blind, the man named Sam recognized Danny's whereabouts and greeted him warmly. Danny tried to ignore Sam, but he couldn't ignore the urge to play the piano keys, so he finally gave in and approached Sam when the old man said he would teach Danny to play the piano. Because Danny was too busy learning to play the piano, he found out too late that the hanging lamp was on, so that by the time he got there, Bart and his men were already battered. Bart, who was angry that Danny was late, then insulted him, and when they returned to Bart's office, Danny was then thrown into his iron cage. Not long after, Wyeth came to Bart's place to invite Danny to an underground fight. Wyeth tells Bart that the guy will get a lot of money if Danny can win the fight because many people will bet their money. Bart is interested in Wyeth's offer, then invites Danny to an underground fight sponsored by Wyeth. There, Danny will face the reigning champions who are undefeated for 15 times. After Bart removes the metal collar around Danny's neck, he turns out to be able to defeat the fighter in no time. Wyeth asked Bart how to train someone to be so obedient to everything he said. Bart replied that it needed to be done as early as possible. Wyeth seemed to understand and then gave the money from the bet to Bart. On their way home, their car was hit by a large truck. After that, a group of men ordered by Raffles appeared and then opened fire on the car. The incident killed Bart's men and Bart collapsed unconscious. However, Danny survived. On the other hand, Sam returned to visit the antique warehouse to play the piano as usual. The blind man sensed Danny's presence, who arrived there badly injured and immediately collapsed. Danny then has a bad dream that he was shot by someone while peeking out of the closet. Danny then woke up confused because he was in a room he didn't recognize and his clothes had already been changed. He heard footsteps approaching and immediately hid under the bed. It turned out that the one who came was Sam, who brought food for him. After eating, Danny came out of the room and listened to Sam playing the piano. However, Danny rushed into the room when he met Victoria, Sam's adopted daughter who had just arrived home. Sam and Victoria are about to have dinner and ask Danny to join them. Danny went into the dining room and just devoured the food. Victoria, who saw this, then taught Danny how to eat properly and asked him to follow her. Danny imitated Sam and Victoria's movements and then told them his name. Since living with Sam and Victoria, Danny begins to open up to them and starts a new life with a kind family. Sam and Victoria teach Danny how to eat, read, talk, cook, shop, and play the piano. Danny learns how to socialize with other people when Victoria and Sam take him to public places, eat ice cream at a cafe, and take pictures together. Danny's appearance also changed drastically with new clothes and hairstyles and a clean and healthy lifestyle like a normal human being. Day after day passed by Danny with joy because Sam and Victoria really treated him like he was part of their family. One night, Victoria comes to Danny's room and tries to remove the metal collar around his neck. However, Danny immediately dodged and slapped her hand because he remembered his past, where he would become violent when the necklace was removed. But Victoria convinces Danny that the metal collar must be removed because he is a free human being, not a pet. Victoria removed the metal necklace slowly, and Danny finally realized that he would still be Danny, who was harmless to others without the necklace around his neck. Danny grows closer to music as he spends time with Victoria and develops a curiosity about his mother after Victoria teaches him what it means to have a family. One day, Danny runs into one of Bart's men who invites him to return. Danny complied with his invitation. Bart was thrilled that Danny had returned to him. However, Danny instead asked him about his mother. Bart admits that he doesn't know Danny's mother. Bart then invites Danny to Wyatt's place to take part in an underground battle. Because Danny refused when Bart told him to enter the arena, he pushed Danny away. Danny fights, but tries not to hurt his opponent because the current Danny has changed. Seeing the match becoming less exciting, Wyatt then ordered 3 other fighters to enter the arena and gang up on Danny. Bart is annoyed, then tells Danny to fight or he will die. Danny finally fought back and managed to subdue all the fighters. However, he still doesn't have the heart to kill them, so Bart takes bold action by shooting the fighters. After that, Bart beat Danny badly and threw him into his iron cage. On the other hand, Sam comforted Victoria, who was very worried about Danny disappearing. Later that night, Danny sneaks out of the cage and searches Bart's desk for information on his mother and finds an old photo of a woman playing the piano, whom he believes to be his mother. Danny then tries to confirm the woman's identity to Bart. Bart said that the woman was his mother. Bart then lies by telling a touching story so that Danny won't leave him again, and Danny looks affected. The following day, when Danny and Bart are about to go to collect debts, Danny manages to escape from Bart by grabbing the steering wheel and causing the car they were in to crash, eventually overturning and crashing. Danny, who managed to survive, returns to Sam and Victoria and tells them about his mother. Sam asked Victoria to describe the setting of the place in Danny's mother's photo. After listening to Victoria's explanation, Sam said that he knew the place. Sam then takes Danny to a music academy where Danny learns that his mother was a pianist who studied there but left due to financial problems. Although Danny didn't have much information about his mother, he felt quite relieved to know that his mother was a pianist, which was why he was interested in playing the piano. While Danny was in his room, Victoria approached him and told him about his mother's song when the photo was taken. She knows the song through the piano score in the photo. She then invites Danny to play the song. As Victoria plays the same song her mother plays in the photo, Danny brings back memories from his childhood. At that time, his mother was a music academy student who was experiencing economic difficulties. Danny always played under the piano when his mother played the song. One day, there was a knock on the door and his mother immediately told him to hide in the closet. Peeking out of the cupboard, Danny sees a man coming and harassing his mother. His mother did not stay silent and tried to fight the man, but the man shot his mother instead. Seeing his mother murdered, Danny immediately comes out of the closet and attacks the man. He was not strong enough to fight back until the man finally caught him and took him away from there. On the other hand, Bart asks the whereabouts of Danny to a supermarket cashier at gunpoint. He finally finds out where Danny is. After regaining his memory, Danny and Victoria immediately packed their things and left because they realized Bart would shortly come to their house sooner or later. Bart and a large gang of thugs arrive at Sam's apartment building to arrest Danny. Seeing this, Danny then hides Sam and Victoria in the closet while running outside to fight the thugs. Danny can face all of these thugs, even if he is alone. Bart turns out to have prepared another plan if the thugs fail to kill Danny. Bart then orders a man nicknamed the Stranger, a reliable fighter who has almost the same fighting ability as Danny. On the other hand, Danny manages to lure the thugs away from Sam's apartment building. While avoiding the thugs chasing him, Danny enters a crevice, but there he encounters the Stranger. Fierce battles are inevitable because both have reliable fighting abilities. They can even fight fiercely in cramped toilet cubicles. On the other hand, Bart parked his car in a quiet place. Danny's fight against the stranger finally ends with Danny accidentally killing him by kicking him from a height and falling right on top of Bart's car. Seeing his flagship fighter dead, Bart then ordered his men to chase and shoot Danny, who was running through the building, until they finally managed to corner Danny in Sam's apartment. Bart then points his gun at Danny and threatens to pull the trigger, but then, to his surprise, he drops his gun and instead pulls out Danny's metal collar and tells Danny to go home with him. As if persuaded by Bart, Danny slowly stepped forward and allowed Bart to wrap the metal collar around his neck, but Danny suddenly stopped Bart at the last minute and managed to incapacitate all of Bart's men. Danny is angry when he finds out that Bart is his mother's killer, then vents his anger and beats him to death. When Danny is about to kill Bart, Sam and Victoria come out of their hiding place to prevent him from killing Bart. However, Bart instead orders Danny to kill him. Bart tells Danny that he will always be a wild animal and never have a family, to which Sam immediately responds by dropping a flower pot on Bart's head, knocking him unconscious. Sam, Danny, and Victoria then hugged each other to calm Danny's anger. After that, Bart and all his men were thrown into prison for a very long time. The film ends by showing Danny sitting with Sam at a piano recital, where Victoria is getting ready to perform. Realizing that Victoria would play the song his mother played years ago, Danny sheds tears of joy because he finally has a family.